There is a diet in the world Sangeeta hasn't tried. For over 20 years of trying and failing with trial and error, she has painfully but successfully learned the science of nutrition and eating right. She's trained in low carb nutrition. She now works with people to help them gain metabolic health. She's an avid advocate of strength training, especially for women. She's a founder of a health-based service called Rewrite Your Story. She's also a C-suite level executive in the media and entertainment industry and a mother of a young teen boy. Sangeeta, it's fantastic to have you finally here. Excited.
Thank you so much. I think we've been trying this for a while, and I'm very happy for you to invite me for this chat.
Okay. How do you unplug from the matrix? Matrix obviously being a reference to the movie, but the way the system is designed is obviously to keep us metabolically unhealthy and depressed and addicted. So what's your story and how did you rewrite your story?
Okay. I'll just give you a little bit of a background. I'm a South Indian, raised in a very traditional South Indian family. I grew up on a healthy diet of rice and sambar and idli and dosa, purely vegetarian till I was about 25 years old. Um, Soon enough, I discovered that I was diagnosed with PCOD. Okay. And a couple of years from there, once I had my baby, I found out that I was almost pre-diabetic, or what we call with an A1C of about 6%. At a very young age, and as a young mother of 29, I had almost reached about 85 kgs, right? Um, and I was not particularly somebody who indulged in junk food or who had a sweet tooth. I was fairly active as a kid and as a teenager, but progressively, there was nothing that I could do to kind of keep myself in health, and it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. Uh, uh, Ashraf, you know how those years are. We're all struggling with our career. I was in middle management. So between struggling with my career and trying to find my health, it became a real tough task. And I did everything what mainstream asked me to do. Okay. Count your portion, count your.
Yeah, but you went by the book.
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I went absolutely by the book, right? I was counting portion. I was doing a lot of cardio. I was eating 6 times a day. I ate everything low fat. I ate whole grains. I did the entire 360-degree that mainstream asked me. Now, to be honest, I did lose some weight. It's not like I did not lose weight. I did lose weight, but between the age of about, say, 29 to 35, I was what is called the yo-yo weight pattern, right? I would lose 10 kgs, gain 8 kgs, then again lose 5 kgs, again gain 6 kgs. And it almost seemed like there was nothing on my mind apart from what should my next meal be and how should that scale move down. And that's extremely exhausting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Um, Very exhausting, right? Like if you're constantly thinking about food, plus to mention the fact that you're constantly hungry. Um, I think around 2013, 14, I think I was about what, 34, 35, uh, is when I suddenly discovered that I started developing an underactive thyroid as well. And I was like, okay, PCOD, pre-diabetes, and now underactive thyroid. What is it that I'm doing wrong? I'm doing everything what people are asking me to do, but where am I going wrong? And trust me, there is no diet in the planet I've not done. Right from that godforsaken GM diet to the juicing to I've done it all. And somewhere I realized that this pattern of yo-yoing, this kind of 6 meals a day, is probably actually doing damage to the body. While the scale may be dropping, my health markers are not really improving, right?
What is your sorry?
So
What is your H1 hemoglobin A1C at that
now,
time? At that time, like
at that time,
was
at
was
that time, it used to hover between 5.8 and 6.1. And I had almost dropped my weight from 87, 88, which is postpartum pregnancy weight. And then, over a period of years, I had dropped it to almost 68, but the weight wouldn't budge beyond 68. and the question is not about just the weight, right? The weight is the scale. It is how you're feeling, what your energy levels are, your brain fog, focus. And like I said, this insanity of constantly being plagued by what my next meal should be. Have I eaten the right amount? Have I not eaten the right amount? And now the added thyroid issue.
Hmm.
And then I started doing a little bit of research about thyroid. And we all know that thyroid is an issue of metabolism, right? If you go on a low calorie diet on a thyroid, you're only going to worsen your metabolism even more. uh, I think this was the really start point of where I'd started to question what mainstream was telling us to do, right? And by then, I was a Google research addict, literally. So I used to read a lot of papers on nutrition, on diets, and what's working and not what's not working, metabolic syndrome, all of that. And long story short, I stumbled in 2014. I stumbled upon a paper where they were talking about something called as a ketogenic diet for epilepsy,
Okay.
right, and cancer. It was a research paper or something like that on PubMed. Memory fades right now. And when I looked at the macros of that, I was shocked. I was like, what is this diet that is asking you to eat everything that is animal based and saturated fat? To the extent that if you look at therapeutic keto, which is typically followed in cancer and epilepsy, the fat macros goes up to 70%, right? I said, okay, listen, I've tried it all. I have all the conditions. What's going to happen? Let's give this a try. And I'm quite well known to be my own guinea pig. I do a lot of trial and error on myself, right? And that's when I changed my diet and I said, okay, the heavens above will kind of take care of me. Let me start this. The funny part is, within a month, I lost 4 kgs effortlessly.
And
And
you weren't thinking and stressing about food.
I was not thinking and stressing about it. I was feeling fuller for longer. I did not have the necessary to carry 6 to 7 dabbas of meals to office. I was just I was just having 3 clean meals: lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah.
And I was feeling great. I was not, for the first time, I ditched the kitchen scale. I was not doing 40 grams of rajma and 80 grams of rice and 30 grams of dal and 3 large portions of salad. I was doing none of this. I was eating meat every single day, and I was using healthy fat as they asked me. I'd switched my entire kitchen to ghee and butter.
Mm.
I I was always a fat girl in my head, right? So I would always kind of hesitate to use the butter and the ghee. So,
In fact, even now, for example, there are certain things, which, logically and rationally I know, okay, how it is. But when I approach it, I hesitate. I just hesitate. Like, those myths, like too much protein is going to cause this, and
yeah,
ghee is going to cause cholesterol.
cholesterol
Salt,
issues, yeah,
high salt is going to cause blood pressure. So these
blood
things.
pressure.
Yeah, so when I approach, there's part of me which stops me. And I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they about on fasting. And I said, I haven't eaten for the day. They said, no, but you might get stomach ulcer if you don't fast. And that's another myth. It's very common in India. And
Yeah,
and they said, okay, this person that I know has got ulcer. The other person that I know got, and the person this she was referring to is someone I know. Both these people I know, and I knew the diets, and the ulcer she's talking about is ulcerative colitis. She didn't use that term, but I was using it.
correct.
So I said, this person was eating extremely high carbohydrate, and his lifestyle was very healthy, unhealthy, and he was diabetic, and then he got this metabolic disease, and he died. Eventually, he died within.
Wow,
Yeah, he died.
that is sad.
Yeah. So I said, I know, it wasn't because of not eating. It was about overeating. And like you rightly said, these 6 meals a day. Just imagine in the animal kingdom, okay, like they would have to keep 6 meals, 6 meals. I mean, it doesn't work with any mammal, any animal, or any with birds.
It doesn't work with any mammal on the planet. It is not intuitive at all. So yeah, like you rightly said, I then walked this path, and in 3 months, I from 68, I became 62.
Okay.
Okay. That's the same year, coincidentally, is when I started figuring out the right way to train.
Okay.
I was going to the gym, but there is this thing in India that when a woman goes to the gym, they push them to the cardio section, or some nonsense called Zumba, or some Bollywood dance or aerobics, right? I then started researching on the benefits of strength training, and then I started lifting. And that combination of going low carb, following a ketogenic lifestyle, and adding strength training kind of worked its magic. The fourth month, I had reversed, my A1C came to 5.6. And 8 months later, I had reversed. I did an ultrasound. I did not have an inflamed ovary. My PCOD was in remission. And 2015 is when I found Dr. Jason Fung. I can't be thankful enough. And I started the fasting protocol.
Okay. Now,
So
when
I,
you when your doctor, when you had this, like when your these metrics, these results, like what is the conversation you're having with your doctor? Like, were they surprised when they saw these results?
if I have to be very honest, I quit going to the doctor after the first instance of PCOD when I was in my late 20s.
Okay.
They gave me glycomet, which is nothing but
Yeah.
metformin,
Metformin.
right? And they gave me a birth control pill. And they said, listen, you need to exercise and lose weight. Now, this is where my take on doctors is. And now I'm coming to know, obviously, in the last few years, that it's probably not their fault also, because they're not trained in nutrition,
Yeah.
right? But and I have this funny quote that I say that, if you have a pet and you take them to a vet, the first question the vet will ask you is, what are you feeding it? That's the first question.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, none of the doctors ask us this question as to what are you eating. They'll
Yeah.
tell you you'll have to lose weight and go and exercise. But we all know exercise contributes hardly 10% to weight loss. Okay. Now, I did go to my doctor, okay, at the end, because I wanted to stop the thyroid medication. I was on a borderline thyroid medication, which was at about 12.5 mcg. And my doctor looked at my tests. He didn't ask me what I was doing. He said, yeah, I think you're better now. Great. Okay. I said, okay. And I came back. So which is why I rely so much on self-help and nutrition when it comes to metabolic syndrome, because, and listen, this is not an advice I'm telling everybody. Please consult your endocrinologist if there is a problem. You need to have a diabetologist if you're on medication. But I figured a way to do this on my own with absolutely no side effect,
Yeah.
right? So in 2015 is when I found fasting, and I'm an intermittent faster since 2015. And that was a game changer to another extent, because I started fasting, I started training on empty stomach. And that's when, by the time it was 2016, I had reached a weight of about 56 kgs, and that weight I haven't had since I was 12 years old.
Hmm.
I couldn't believe it. And it was just not the weight. All the blood markers were great. I was feeling good. I had built muscle mass. My body fat percentage at that time was about 23%. And I was about what, 39, 40. And I was feeling great. And I continued this journey. I kept reading, learning, and then I got trained in low carb nutrition. And people had seen my transformation. I was in the same company for 10 years. So they saw me from 2011
Yeah.
to 2019. They couldn't believe what was going on with me.
Yeah.
So they would come and approach me, and they would see me in the pantry eating certain food. A lot of people are also very discouraging, Ashraf. Like, I would tell people would come to me.
Sincere well wishers, and like, for example, I think what you're doing is wrong. You might be killing yourself. I know.
Exactly. Check your cholesterol. It's going to be crazy. You're going to have kidney failure. Check your SGOT levels. This is insane diet. Meat causes cancer. How can you live like this? Why aren't you eating any fruits? I quit fruits in 2016 completely.
Yeah.
But now, after that 8-9 year journey, I have the same people come and ask me, hey, help me out. I've tried everything.
And
What are you doing?
mostly they want to lose weight. It's not about health, right? It's mostly they want to lose weight.
Mostly, yeah, it starts with a vanity
Yeah.
metric like losing weight and wanting to look good. But I don't diss that particularly, because the minute you start losing weight, there is a motivation that comes within you.
Yeah.
Mostly when people lose the first 5 kilos, 7 kilos, then they are motivated to say, hey, you know what, this is good for me. Maybe I'll start walking, maybe I'll get a gym membership. And that's the behavioral change I talk about even on Twitter, right? So this has been literally my journey, and 2018 is when I started helping people very informally. Somebody wants to get fit for a marriage, somebody has is a best man at somebody's wedding. And sorry.
School reunion is one of the favorites.
Yeah, reunion. Some people were having joint ache, and I was finding success after success. And 2018-19 is when I finally said, okay, listen, I can do this. And I trained myself properly in low carb nutrition, though I informally, I'm self-taught and I learned everything. I trained myself, and then I started, rewrite your story. And it's literally that every person at any given point in time can change this around.
Yeah.
It's not too late. All you need to do is make your food choices right. So that in nutshell is how I broke out of the mainstream metrics, and I use this voice to try and see if I can help others. And like you rightly said, what started as weight loss consultations for me has now moved into reversal or remission of metabolic syndrome. So now a lot of people who come to me, it's more about diabetes, it's more about NAFLD, it's about cholesterol, blood pressure, PCOD, thyroid, and weight loss is a sweet side effect actually.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much me.
Okay. What would you say to someone would say that is, why are you killing yourself? Rather get into some kind of moderation. Yeah, it's about eating less and moving more. So do you have to have all of these high protein and high fat diet, and you're missing out on the the good things in life? What would you say to someone like that?
Okay, I think I want to address this question in two parts. Okay, first part is, let's look at the calorie deficit model, which I think the majority somehow are convinced about, right?
You mean the
There are 3-4 things:
calorie in, calorie out model?
calorie in, calorie out, the law of thermodynamics. You have to burn more than you eat.
Yeah.
In a theoretically and in closed systems, in closed clinical trials, etc., the law of thermodynamics is fine. Okay. But the human body is not a closed system. Okay, we are an open system. We are constantly interacting with other elements in nature. There is energy leakage, energy gain in multiple ways that you cannot imagine. You cannot reduce and be reductive to the extent that to think that your body does math. There is biochemistry involved.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's point number one. Point number two, the calorie deficit model espouses, and that's slightly changing now, is a calorie is a calorie. No, a calorie is not a calorie. 100 grams of bread versus 100 grams of beef work very differently in your body because the hormone response is very different.
Yeah, even
right?
the liver is very different.
Correct. And the nutrient density is very different.
Exactly.
Correct. So that's number two. No, a calorie is not a calorie. You cannot say that I will eat bread and drink Coke and be in a calorie deficit and it will work for me. No, it's not going to happen. That's number two. Number three, nature and our body has something called as homeostasis, right? Every time you go on a calorie deficit, your body will, over a period of time, adjust its metabolism to follow that calorie deficit. Now, the question is, how much of a deficit are you going to keep going on? Right? It doesn't make sense. This is the exact reason when you speak to pro bodybuilders, right? They will go through this phase of bulk and shred. What is this bulk and shred? Because they know very well that you cannot stay in a deficit for a long time. You have to shock your body to build bulk again and then cut again.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, if you're a pro bodybuilder and day in, day out, you're doing this, it's great. But if you're a regular lay person, how are you going to manage this for life? Right? Also, eating is intuitive, right? Like you rightly said, there is no mammal on the planet which goes and measures its food or eats by the clock. You eat when you're hungry, you stop eating when you're full, and you go through fasting and feasting. This is our DNA from 2.5 million years, and our DNA has not changed a lot,
Yeah.
right? The final point I want to make is calorie restriction is a form of saying that you need to tolerate your hunger with willpower.
Yeah.
What we need to understand
Mm.
is hunger is a primal urge.
Yeah.
It's like the flight or I'm sorry, the flight or fight syndrome, right? You cannot ask any mammal on the planet to stay slightly hungry every day for the rest of your life.
Mm.
It won't work. This is exactly why the CICO model or the calorie deficit model is so frustrating, because in the short term you will lose weight, but in the long term it is unsustainable.
Yeah.
You're not eating as per proper human nutrition. You're not eating as per your hormones, and you're relying on willpower. And to add to it all, the food environment around you is absolutely not conducive for you to stay healthy.
Yeah. The body is made for
So, this is
survival. It's not made for optimization. So, like you said,
exactly.
your primal urge is a
Now,
primal.
hunger is a primal urge. At some point you will, right?
Yeah.
Now let's come to the fact, to people who say eat everything in moderation. That's such bad advice. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't teach you anything. Like, what is eat everything in moderation? If you're somebody whose blood glucose levels are high, who has huge insulin resistance, I have to unbalance something out of your diet, right? You have gone on most likely a sugar and a carb overload, and I cannot bring it to moderation. For some period of time, it has to be removed from your diet. So, eat everything in moderation is nice to say. Eat a balanced diet, eat a rainbow diet, but it doesn't translate into anything that is actionable,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that this is what I tell people. Okay, and now coming to the point that, hey, you're depriving yourself of all the good things. Now that's a choice you make, right? Like, do I want to get the instant gratification of eating a cake every day and feeling happy and high, the sugar high, or do I want to, deny myself a little, go to the gym, cut my consumption of sugar, gain better body recomposition, and wait for that longer term reward, which we call health,
Yeah.
right?
In fact,
So that's a choice.
really speaking, when they said like you're denying yourself of good things in life, I mean, you and I, we don't really think a lot about food all the time. I mean, we're not thinking about food. For example, I'm not really thinking about, I don't know, video games like Fortnite, which will be very important for a teenager. I'm not really thinking
Yeah,
about. I'm free
yeah,
of like those thoughts, like ice
yeah.
cream, cake. I mean, it's not there in the system. Like even for missing an ice cream or a cake, if it's not there on your mind or even in your system, your body's forgotten about it. So it's not there in system. So there is no missing out. So what would you say to someone who says that I'm a foodie? I'm a foodie. Like like many Indians, like among my friends, I'm a foodie. Like I know what you're saying is good, but I can't do it. Like because I'm a foodie, I love food.
See, I'm a very I don't soft glove people.
Okay.
Okay,
I, I,
now
I see that on Twitter, on some of the.
I don't. I believe in tough love, okay? Because we've gotten super sensitive, and we all are driving consensus and saying, yeah, yeah, your body, your choice, all of that, fat acceptance, don't fat shame, all of that is fine. And listen, let's understand, okay, let's address the question of being a foodie. Listen, being a foodie is not going and eating every kind of trash or junk food that's available.
Yeah.
Being a foodie is somebody who's a food connoisseur who enjoys good food. I
Okay.
am a foodie. I love myself a good steak. I love myself some salmon and avocado. Okay. That is being a foodie.
Yeah.
It's not somebody who's day in, day out, shoving their mouths with cake and ultra processed food. And ultimately, if you're going to be a foodie and the long term outcomes are going to be health problems and a large medical bill, what's the point of having a hobby like that? And why is food your hobby? Like, I I don't understand that. Like you rightly said, when you train yourself, and human beings can be trained and adapted for anything, when you train yourself to not eat certain kinds of food, the body is so fabulous that it will not miss it.
Yeah.
I don't miss sugar at all,
Yeah.
at all.
Okay.
That switch in my mind is turned off for good.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, when you follow a low carb lifestyle, or a ketogenic lifestyle, or a carnivorish lifestyle, the body allows you the metabolic flexibility for once in a while to go and have that indulgence without causing too much trouble. And this is what I tell all my members who join the program. I said, listen, the 80-20 rule works everywhere. 80% of the time when you comply, 20% you can go and enjoy a cake and enjoy a pizza here and there. But most people are doing the other way around.
Okay.
So 80% of times there is non-compliance.
Okay. So what is metabolic flexibility? And what is
Okay. So metabolic flexibility, the way I understand it, it has two components to it. Okay. One is so the first component is that you need to have, as a man or a woman, more muscle mass than fat mass, right? Ideally, your body fat percentages should be low and your muscle mass should be low, because when your muscle mass should be high, because when your muscle mass is high, your metabolism is better. Okay, that is one part of metabolic flexibility. Therefore, you automatically through the day burn more of your energy than you consume. That is one part of it. The second part of metabolic flexibility is when you can shift very easily between being a sugar burner and a fat burner,
switching?
right? Most individuals, I think 99% or more, are sugar burners, because we are constantly, meal after meal, we are giving ourselves carbs.
Yeah.
Now, when you're a carb or a sugar burner, you are always at a low metabolic flexibility because you're not using your body fat.
Okay.
That body fat is being stored. When you deplete your system out of sugar and carbs, that's when you unlock the key or the lock to accessing fat. Fat is a more clean source of energy for the body. It doesn't, it keeps the engine of your cell, which is the mitochondria, stronger.
Yeah.
Sugar ages your mitochondria faster,
Yeah.
right? So if you want to age slower, age gracefully, if you want to look better, feel better, it's better that you are a fat burner.
Yes.
So metabolic flexibility is a combination of doing body recomposition, keeping your body fat low, keeping your protein consumption high, strength training, and being a fat burner.
Okay. You know, about a decade ago, what happened is I was extremely overweight, and someone came up to me, and a random guy was having tea someplace, and he said, the reason why you are so fat is because, you know, you people eat a lot of meat, and you should adopt a vegan lifestyle. And actually, I mean, bought into it. I was like, yeah, maybe that's true. And then, I mean, looking back now, I realized that growing up in India, there's a lot of promotion of vegetarianism, and also the term for meat eaters in India is non-veg, which I haven't heard anywhere else in the world. Non-veg,
Yeah,
as though you
yeah,
have to apologize, you know, for eating meat. And even those
yeah,
who eat meat would say something like, "Yeah, I don't eat very often. I eat like maybe twice or thrice a week. That's it. But mostly I eat vegetable."
yeah,
So, what's
yeah.
your take on this, on proteins, and what are the myths on proteins coming out of meat and fish and dairy and poultry?
Yeah, correct. So let's understand. I just alluded to the fact that our DNA has not changed largely from 2.5 million years,
Yeah.
right? We evolved eating meat. Okay. Our brains grew to 1500 grams, not on an agriculture plant based diet. Agriculture came in 12,000 years ago. Okay. Ancestrally, we were meat eaters. Okay. Our gut and our stomach is designed as per biology to eat uh, nutrient dense foods, right? We don't have the stomach or the gut of a cow, right? Unless we are not herbivores, we are omnivores. We predominantly ate meat, and seasonally we had some honey and maybe seasonally some fruits, right? When we couldn't hunt. That biological need has not changed. What has changed is with the agriculture revolution and with the expansion of the population, grains came into our diet, legumes came into our diet. All of this has come into our diet, right? Uh, so that is part one. Part two, I think somewhere, especially in India, there is some sort of ethics, religion, stroke, morality attached to being a vegetarian or being a vegan.
Yeah.
Now, I am religion agnostic. Okay. Ideally, as per my religion, I should be a total vegetarian. Okay. I I I keep religion away from health. Biology doesn't follow religion, right? This is not to say that we cannot have better practices. Of course, we should have better meat farming practices. Of course, there should be an ethical way of producing meat. Of course, we should stop the antibiotics, etc. All of this is needed, right? So there is a way to improve the system, but to kind of hold some high moral stand to being a vegan and a vegetarian, and at the end of the day ruin your health and become a burden on your family and the healthcare system, and more importantly, eating yourself to the grave early is not helpful. Like most vegetarians, like for example, Ashraf, I did 100 free sessions on Twitter. Okay, I put out a DM and I said half an hour free calls. Out of those 100 calls, 80 were vegetarians, and all 80, trust me, had a B12 deficiency, a zinc deficiency, a magnesium deficiency, almost first stages of fatty liver, and 70 of them were either diabetic or pre-diabetic. Now, 100 is not a small number. Maybe it's not a large data, but it is a valid statistical sample.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is this happening? Why is it that vegetarians are the one who are plagued by this? So, in principle, Indians consume less than 30 grams of protein in a day. Just look at anybody the way they eat. 30 grams of protein is nothing. Protein is a building block for your entire body, right? There is no cell, tissue, muscle, nail, hair in your body that doesn't utilize protein. Same is the case with healthy fat, right? Both these are requirements that your body can't make. It has to come through a diet. And these deficiencies over a period of time then cause muscle loss, then they cause bone density loss, and then you have all the myriad problems that come with it. So when people talk about high protein, they're actually not talking about high protein. I think high protein is a misnomer.
Yeah.
It is adequate protein. Rule of thumb, you need to get at least 1 gram of protein per kg of desired body weight. So if you're a woman who's 5'5" and your ideal body weight is 58 kgs, at least get 58 grams of protein. That's the bare minimum. Okay, that is one. So this, I think this is a myth that, and I keep fighting this myth, and I tell everybody, I'm 5'5", I'm 55 kgs, I consume 130 grams of protein in a day. That's almost 2.2 grams per kg of body weight. All my markers are fine, right? So the more you train, the luxury of having, or in fact, the requirement of having protein goes up. But even if you're not training, and if you're somebody who's just normally physically active and going about your day-to-day life, protein is very important. Protein is also something that helps you with satiety, and that's proven. Ted Naiman, if you know from Twitter, there are so many studies that he had said that it is not protein that is causing a problem. Protein per calorie has the highest satiety, and when combined with healthy fat, the satiety goes higher. The energy excess is largely a result of carb consumption. So your plate needs to change. It needs to be 70% protein and 30% carbs. Just do that change, and that 70% comes with protein the way it comes in nature. Like, eat a chicken thigh, eat a fatty meat cut, eat some fatty beef or some fatty fish. uh, you find the protein and fat combination in nature. You don't find a carb and fat combination in nature. Please tell me, where is it? Barring maybe yeah, no, I can't find. No, there is no combination of fat and carb in nature. That's what we have made.
In fact, what would you say to someone who says that when I don't have carbs, I just feel very weak. I can't perform my daily task. I feel very weak. I need to have my carbs. Is this an argument?
So, there are some people, especially long runners, marathon runners, okay, who kind of need some carbohydrates,
Yeah.
right? Because it's an immediate fuel for the body, immediate fuel. Unless you're somebody who's a marathon runner, etc., right? And you really don't need that kind of carbs on a day-to-day basis.
Mm.
Okay, that is one. The reason you feel weak by not having carbs is normally it also happens in the transition stage of a low carb diet or a ketogenic diet.
Yes.
The first 3 weeks, when I put somebody, when I'm weaning them off carbs and slowly putting them on protein and fat, it's actually nothing but carb withdrawal,
Yeah.
right? You feel weak, you sometimes have a headache, you sometimes feel like you're unable to concentrate, but that's because you're changing your body from using glucose as a fuel to using fat as a fuel. You'll
Right.
have to allow the body to go through some time. But otherwise, I don't think, not having carbs. I mean, I train fasted. I'm not falling off.
Yeah.
I eat protein mostly. I'm healthy. I think that's more of a mindset and a habit issue, and
Exactly.
you're not giving it enough time to settle in.
Exactly. The metabolic switching requires its course.
Yeah, exactly. You're switching.
Yeah.
Also, you have to give your gut microbiome some time to adapt, right?
Right.
Your gut microbiome has been it is always populated as per the foods you give it.
Mm.
Now you're taking away a sugary based food, you're taking away carbs, you're giving it a different kind of nutrient dense food. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks, but after that, the results are great.
Yeah. In fact, I've been experimenting recently with beef liver, and
Yeah.
that is in certain terms of satiety. It's like, I mean, when I have like 200 grams of beef liver, I just forget about food. Like there is, for the next 24 hours. I mean, I can fast for 24 hours just on like 200 grams of beef liver. Forget about. In fact, even you have carbs, it just spikes your insulin, and you want to have more carbs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think people need to understand uh, what creates hunger, especially when you eat carbs, right? So your insulin response so there are a couple of hormones, right, Ashraf? You have insulin, you have leptin, and you have ghrelin, right? Leptin is the satiety hormone, or the hunger hormone. Sorry, the satiety hormone. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone, and insulin is your is basically it comes in to kind of remove the blood sugar from your bloodstream, and it does a lot of other things. The more you spike your insulin, okay, the greater the crash. This is where we get our energy highs, energy lows, and the hangry syndrome that we always have. That within 3 hours, if I don't eat, I'm ravenously hungry. That
Mm.
is insulin triggering that response.
Mm.
Okay. When your insulin levels are always high in your body, and when you're spiking it, your brain doesn't recognize the leptin response,
Yeah. Yeah.
which means it does the satiety hormone switches off.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at Dr. Nadir Ali's work on YouTube, and he goes by Eat Mostly Fat Ali, I think, on Twitter, he's done a wonderful presentation on how these three hormones play a role when you're a predominantly carb eater, and what happens when you switch to low carb.
Okay.
It's a very interesting thing. So people, when they are constantly feeding themselves carbs, they not only become insulin resistant, it's a double whammy, they also become leptin resistant,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is why you're hungry all the time.
Yeah.
Now, is this your fault? No, because but it is your problem, so you will have to fix it.
Yeah. It's not your fault, but it's definitely your problem.
It is definitely a problem, and it is definitely your responsibility.
Okay.
To add to all of this, I think mainstream is hammering it out to you, saying no, eat millets, eat 3 to 5 portions of fruits a day.
No
You
fat.
have seen what is going on my Twitter for the last 2 days on fruit.
Yeah, fruit. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love this topic of fruit because there is, again,
It's
with
a very sensitive topic.
yeah, very sensitive, very sensitive. Even the ones who have started this low carb journey, when we start I mean, I realize that don't start the fruit discussion immediately. So fruit discussion
Yeah,
has to be done, once a person, gets into 3 months, 6 months into this mindset,
yeah,
then start this
correct,
discussion. So, but in terms of
correct.
kind of fructose and what it does to the liver and the amount of, we're not designed to eat that kind of fruits. And we eat fruits out of season, like any fruit. Okay, like my relatives, especially in India, there is so much emphasis on eating fruits. And when you go to their place, they'll give you lots of fruits to eat. So what could go wrong? It's just fruits. What could go wrong? I mean, fruits are healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See, let's understand what is. You're right. You pointed out one thing, that everything is available out of season. Now, Ashraf, just go back to your when you were younger, right? Your preteens. I was born and raised in Hyderabad, right? It's a tropical, pretty hot, dry heat kind of a place. We never found apples through the year.
Yeah.
Okay, we never found watermelon through the year. We never found, the size and the appearance of the fruits were very natural and organic. Now you get shiny apples and shiny pears, as if each one has been, there's been a makeover transition that's happened, and they've gotten sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. You get bananas that are now almost 12-inch in size.
Yeah.
So first, modern fruit is nothing like what fruit was when probably your grandparents and my grandparents were consuming.
Yeah.
Okay, that fruit was completely different.
Yeah.
Fruit is largely GMO now. They are artificially ripened with chemicals. They're artificially sweetened. Okay, that is one. That is one problem with modern fruit. Now let's come to what is a fruit. Okay, fructose is nothing, and we all know it's nature's candy. Okay, just because it is natural sugar, I mean, your body doesn't know that, right? Whether it is found, ultimately your body breaks down food into its molecular form.
Yeah.
Fructose is metabolized exclusively in the liver.
Yeah.
Now when you eat, as you are advised, 3 to 5 portions of fruit in a day, you are the amount of load on the liver is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fructose in the form of fruit consumption, and high fructose corn syrup in all your packaged food,
Exactly.
especially your sauces, your ketchups. This combination, along with carbs, is the leading cause of NAFLD.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, Ashraf, did you hear of NAFLD?
No.
We only knew of the fatty liver because of alcohol
Alcohol.
abuse.
Alcohol. We just knew about fatty liver disease because of alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah, fatty liver was a direct correlation to abusing your liver with alcohol. Okay, what is NAFLD? What is causing it?
Yeah.
So when I tell people that at least when you eat a whole, so let's come back to what needs to be done. Fruit consumption is rare. Okay, largely you should be eating it seasonal, and you should be eating it if you're in good metabolic health. So if you have no markers of diabetes, no markers of NAFLD, no markers of cholesterol, if you're active, you can consume fruit. Okay, you should also be looking at the seasonal wild variety, which is why I always say in my plants, go eat the local berries. They are great. We have different kinds of berries in India. That is fine. Citrus is fine, right? Eat apples seasonally, okay, if you have to eat it. But this thing that I can eat unlimited amount of fruit is a problem.
Yeah.
Now, at least if you're eating the whole fruit, because of the fiber and the other things, the delivery of fructose in your bloodstream and to your liver is slow.
Yeah.
Now, people think fruit juice is magical.
Mm.
They have pulped the fruit, they have removed every healthy component of that fruit away from it, and they are now consuming pure fructose.
Yeah.
The minute you drink a fruit juice, the delivery of fructose into your system is immediate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and let me not even get started on packaged fruit. Packaged fruit juice is not fruit juice. It is fruit flavoring and sugar water.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah.
So I think we have a long way to go with this fruit obsession.
Yeah.
But the people realize it the hard way. And I am just saying that all you're eating fruits for micronutrients, right?
Yeah.
There are lots of other options that are healthier that will give you the same micronutrients.
I
So
think
if you enjoy your fruit, eat it.
yeah, one of the reasons is even for diabetics, the diagnosis, the prescription, the doctors, they said that you can have like 1.5 apple along with your other diet. They do prescribe. My mom, she's diabetic, and now of course, I mean, she's into remission now.
That's
But
great. Yeah.
so she used to do this 1.5 apple a day, and but then it was a bit conflicting because every time she used to take the blood sugar, you get a 20-point high with that 1.5 apple.
Exactly.
Even with so there is, the signs are all there. The red flags are all there. Even like a date, having a date, it just spikes your blood sugar. We're not even talking about insulin. We're talking about blood sugar now. It spikes your blood sugar. So, these signs are there. That it's not supposed to be like this. If it's natural and if it's good.
You're absolutely right. So, for example, people think dry fruits,
Yeah,
right? Anjeer, all the dry fruits, including dates. The Do you know the concentration of sugar in a date?
yeah,
Like, uh, my trainer is a pro bodybuilder. He's 6'2". Okay, and he's huge. He eats one date as a pre-workout. I mean, that should tell you
yeah,
who is qualified to eat a date or a dry fruit.
yeah,
And you're right. To everybody who's in denial,
yeah,
I say wear a CGM,
yeah,
okay? And that will exactly tell you what's happening to your blood glucose levels.
yeah,
Uh, I just think that this is a lot of denial that we live in, and 50 years of mainstream telling no fruits are okay, no dates are healthy, no dry fruits are great, eat unlimited amount of nuts, that's okay. um, but let's just vilify meat and protein,
yeah.
because that's where all the problem is. We've somehow turned it right on its head. It should
Yeah,
be
yeah,
the
yeah.
other way around.
The other way, yeah. And also, the ghee is going to cause you heart attack. This excess of. In fact, what we've been noticing is, uh, though the cricketers promoting, the healthy oil, and then I saw one of the cricketers. He got heart attack twice. Cricketer, ex-cricketer, a president of some.
Yes, our ex-captain. Yeah, I know that.
He got heart attack twice, and I was like, "What's happening over here?" Then I saw that he was promoting this this barn, the oil which is made from barn flakes which is the animal feed, and like human beings are not even supposed to consume that. So he's having all of these low fat and all of that, no samosas and all that. He goes exercising and he consumes his food with that vegetable oil, the seed oil or the flake oil. And yeah, I mean, typically he would be seen as a healthy person because he is relatively slimmer than other people. But then he gets this heart attack. Twice he gets this heart attack. So
Yeah. Ashraf, you brought out a very great topic, which is a big topic of discussion now. I think seed oils, and look at the clever marketing around it. They call it vegetable oil. It's not a. It's There is none of these oils, whether it is safflower, sunflower, canola, rice bran, soybean. None of these are made from vegetables. They are made from crushing seeds, right? And this came in, I think, funnily, I was watching a podcast. It is India who discovered seed oils in the 1910s. It is India which first discovered diabetes, and then we exported both of this to Greece.
yeah,
Okay. So the seed oil, it's marketed as heart healthy. I mean, you've seen all the tons of commercials, right? Now people are flocking towards that. Seed oils are actually hydrogenated oils um, and if you actually look at the way it is processed and the things that are done to it, its real color, the amount of bleaching agents that are added to make it look like, that sunlight kind of a color. If you look at the PUFA content in that, uh, it is horrible. It is one of the key things that causes inflammatory markers in the body.
Yeah.
One of the key thing. Okay. And then we uh, reuse that oil.
Yeah.
Okay. So we make puri and then we'll keep that oil and we'll reuse that oil again in something. It's already hydrogenated.
Yeah.
Now you've used that oil, it's gone rancid, and you're using it again and again and again.
Well, when you
And
said
then on this,
when you said puri, what I remember what they do is, like, typically, I mean, I see a lot of people in my relatives, they would take a tissue paper and then they would squeeze the the oil.
yeah, like as if they're doing themselves some great health favor by just squeezing out the excess oil out of a samosa and the puri and the batura. So seed oil is extremely dangerous, and that's why I say go back to what we were doing in the 1910s and 20s. We were eating ghee. India predominantly ate ghee. It ate coconut oil. Okay. Um, uh, and very, very seasonally, we used mustard and sesame.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go back to reading some of the Ayurvedic texts, sesame oil and mustard oil are better for massages,
Yeah.
okay, than for consumption.
Yeah.
And they are used in very, very small quantity as a flavoring agent in India, what we call a tadka, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, they're used as flavoring agents rather than the main cooking fat.
Okay.
Okay, so I think ghee, coconut oil in India, butter, if you're eating some kind of a grilled dish, please stick to this. And now everybody wants to, somehow people do not want to have ghee, and they say, okay, I'm having olive oil. I have two questions to this. I mean, to ask. One, olive oil is not native to India.
Hmm.
Okay. Indian cooking needs high smoke point.
Yeah.
Correct? Olive oil does not provide that high smoke point.
Hmm.
Most of the olive oil that is available in India has at least a 30% adulteration.
Yeah.
So why do you want to go and buy something which is 1,000 rupees
Yeah.
when in the same price you will get a great quality ghee which works for you in every way?
Yeah. Also, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, like what you said about the, like the food that we make requires high cooking temperatures. So,
It needs a very high smoke point, and you need the cooking fat to be stable at high smoke points, right? Which is why coconut oil and ghee,
yeah.
right? And if you look abroad in the western side, they used lard, they used beef tallow. Okay, so all these animal based fats have high smoke points that don't go rancid.
Yeah.
Now olive oil actually is used by Mediterranean cultures and otherwise mostly as a salad oil.
Yeah. They sprinkle it after the cooking. They would sprinkle it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a salad oil. It's a different oil. So I think we should go back to what's local and what's real for us and what's native to us.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, coming to the topic of fasting, like why fast, and how does it help your overall metabolic health? So we are eating right. We spoke about proteins. We spoke about fats. We spoke about some of the misconceptions that we have. But why add fasting to this?
Okay. So again, let's go back to my favorite thing that I always talk, ancestors, right? And culturally, ancestrally. Um, Human beings were never designed to be constantly fed.
Hmm.
Okay. We went through fasting and feeding windows as part of our evolution.
Yeah.
Okay. As hunter gatherers, we found food, we hunted for food, and mostly we looked at meat because it was nutrient dense. Okay. You never know when your next hunt is happening. So when you lived in tribes, you brought that nutrient dense food, you distributed it among your tribe. And then if for the next 1 day or 2 days you didn't find your next meal, it was okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We also went through long periods of environmental hazards, etc. And that time we found honey and we found fruit until we found our next meal in the form of meat. Okay. This is our, this is how ancestrally humans ate.
Yeah.
Now, our body, like I alluded to twice before, has not changed a lot,
Mm.
right? This is point number one. Point number two is after the agricultural revolution in 12,000 years ago, and then with the industrial revolution, now everywhere you see there is food.
Mm.
Plus, the food is designed in such a way to that bliss point, that beautiful formula where food scientists give you fat, salt, and sugar in the right combination that keeps it addictive for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why fasting? One, ancestrally, we were fasting. Also, if you look at every culture, right, whether it is in Islam, you have Rosa, right? Whether it is Christianity, you have Lent. In Hinduism, there is, so every culture has some form of fasting. Why is that? Okay? And if you look at Lent, it immediately follows after Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Mm.
You know, even religion found a very, culture found a very intelligent way of incorporating fasting, because typically Thanksgiving and Christmas was indulgence, and Lent was a way to say, put yourself in denial now, you feasted enough,
Mm.
right? So even culturally, in every culture, in every religion, fasting is there, and that's for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's come to the science of it. Digestion is immense stress on the body. Okay. People think digestion is automatic, but when you eat and when your body has to digest food, it is stress. You have to relieve your body out of that stress for some periods of time. Okay. This is when your body recoups. It's like what we do with sleep every night, right? Why are we not awake all the time?
Mm.
Like, why do mammals sleep? Why do humans sleep? You can sometimes even go without water, but try going without sleep for 2 days and see what happens to your cognitive capabilities. You will not survive. You can do a dry fast for 5 days, right? But you cannot survive without sleep. Sleep is rest for the brain, correct? Because the brain is recouping, it's building memories, it's sorting out a lot of things. Your body is also doing a lot of things.
Mm.
Fasting is a similar thing. Yeah.
Mm.
You can't keep expecting your stomach to be digesting and digesting and digesting,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So one, that is that is from the science of the biology of it, as to why you need to give your digestion a rest. Okay. Now coming to modern lifestyle, fasting is the simplest way of stopping yourself from overindulgence. That's number two. Okay. Number three, and I talk about this a lot on Twitter, I feel that if you have a certain kind of food addiction, na,
Mm.
fasting is a remedy for that. Like how meditation is to the mind, fasting is to the body.
Yeah.
When you're extremely anxious, when you're extremely stressed, you know, why do people go and do that 10-day Vipassana course? It's to basically center yourself back, right?
Mm.
Fasting is exactly that for your body.
It's a
And
reset.
when you stop, it's a reset, correct? And when you stop eating, then your body is able to do a lot of other things. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of a term called autophagy, right? Cell rejuvenation, and a lot of things happen. So so fasting is very good because, a, like I said, that's how you're designed to eat. Fasting and feeding, it resolves some of the cravings that you have. And when you fast over a period of time, and I'm sure you do fasting, and what I experienced with intermittent fasting and then doing one meal a day, which is like, you know, extended 20 hours fasting, is the thought of food would go away,
Mm.
right, after a point. I think one more very important benefit of fasting, you will start recognizing real hunger.
Mm. It's true. It's true. Most hunger is not real.
Uh,
Most hunger is not real.
most hunger is not real, and I keep saying we start behaving like Pavlovian dogs. You know, the bell rang, so the dog needs to eat.
Yeah.
For us, it is exactly like that with the time. Oh, 8 o'clock breakfast, 11 o'clock mid-morning meal, 1 o'clock lunch, 3 o'clock tea with snacks, 5 o'clock I've come back home, some more snacks, 8 o'clock dinner, and then 10 o'clock some late night dessert.
Mm.
Now, you over decades and decades and decades have attuned your mind to create neuroplasticity, which is basically habit formation, right? To eat as per the clock. You have to, like, you don't know what real hunger is.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, apart from understanding real hunger, you will start becoming ghrelin sensitive. What does that mean? You start recognizing that hunger actually comes and goes in waves.
Yeah.
So when the ghrelin hormone is activated when you're hungry, okay,
Wait
you
for,
just have to
yeah, wait for,
exactly give it 20 minutes, 25 minutes, depending upon at what stage you are in your fasting, the ghrelin hormone wave will go away.
yeah, yeah,
So most people who go through 2 or 3 day fasting schedules will tell you first day is okay, second day becomes very difficult at about the 36-hour 40-hour kind of mark,
yeah,
but once they pass that, the third day is a cakewalk.
yeah. Also about autophagy.
So
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, correct. Yeah,
The
so I've
please. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, please, no, I'm done. You go ahead.
Autophagy. It's interesting that you mentioned that because not many people know about this. The Nobel Prize for autophagy, the discovery was given to
Yes,
Japanese scientists in 2016.
correct,
What has happened,
correct.
especially in the past couple of months, some of the biggest investments in terms of venture capital, including Jeff Bezos, he funded some
Yeah,
company which over $20 billion. I think it's big. It was a big investment. Even in Abu Dhabi investments over here, the government has invested in medical sciences, and all of this has to be is to do with the longevity drugs and
yeah.
what eventually they want to do. Even in the US, I follow this Einstein medical research. All of them
Hmm,
want to come with a pill-based approach towards inducing autophagy. So
hmm.
it is a known. It's known among even the venture capitalists. This is the only way you can get into a youthful state, like the cellular dumping and all of those good things happening when you're fasting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now the investments have gone towards these companies to make a pill where you can have this pill without fasting. And actually, there's some good advances happening. But obviously, with all of these pills, the side effects come along with these pills.
Exactly. I was coming to that. I was listening to a recent Twitter space by a very famous diabetologist 2 days ago, and then I commented on that space on Twitter. And this gentleman was actually saying that all these don't do these extreme things of zero carb and low carb and going on starvation. Basically, he was alluding to fasting as starvation. He's like, medical sciences progress so much, and he was talking about a pill, a sophisticated pill now diabetics can take, which will make them lose weight.
Yeah,
Okay, to about 8 to 15 kgs over a period of time. My question is, if everything could have been made into a pill, it would have been made into a pill by now. Okay, and we also know what happens in a pill popping culture, right? I mean, look at the opioid crisis in the US right now.
yeah,
They started prescribing painkillers left, right, and center, that they have a whole population addicted to opioids, right? So while it's great that there is millions of dollars of funding on creating a pill, I don't think human beings can beat nature.
yeah,
I'm a strong proponent of that.
yeah,
That there are certain things that you have to do the hard way. There is no pill you can pop and grow your muscle mass.
yeah,
You have to go to the gym and exercise, right? So coming back to the benefits of autophagy, I think there are two things. Autophagy, and now the research is getting stronger. I think also fasting, one, obviously kickstarts the process of autophagy. Fasting is the other way in which the human growth hormone increases, HGH. And the other way you can get into autophagy is, I think, is now working out fasted.
Yeah.
which is why a lot of people, including me, we work out fasted, right? Again, the human growth hormone production and the autophagy can be mimicked in when you create good stress to the body when you work out in a fasted state.
Right.
So the benefits are huge, but I want to leave a word of caution here. Very long fast for chasing autophagy without understanding your body, your metabolic condition, is not very beneficial.
What's your take?
You
Like,
know,
when does autophagy kick in? I mean, I know there's a difference of opinion, but when do you think?
I think minimum 36 to 40 hours to 42 hours. Before that, it doesn't. So I think it's about 2 days and then.
Okay.
It doesn't, people come to me and say, ma'am, I want the autophagy process to start. No, it doesn't happen with a 16-hour IF. No,
Okay.
I don't think so. And whatever research I have read and I have done, it is about that magic 1.5 day, 2 day, right? When you're getting closer to the 2 day period is when autophagy comes in.
Okay.
But like I said, but the better way to do it is to probably follow a 18-16 protocol,
Hmm.
right? 18-6 protocol rather, where you're fasting for 18 hours and eating in a 6-hour window, hitting your protein macros in those 6 hours, and your fasting worked out. I think you will hit workout based fasted autophagy better.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can fast for shorter period. What you were saying is work out so you can induce autophagy faster. Yeah.
Yeah, with that sweet spot of about 18 hours.
Okay. Okay. Speaking about women's health, now a lot of women, especially in India and among my relatives, they say that it's very different for men and women. Like once you are married and you have kids, so you are going to be putting on weight, and you are going to be, so it has to be accepted. And children, so we live for our children. I know all of these celebrities that you see, and the fitness and influencers or whoever on Twitter. So these are people who probably have extra time on their hands, or the kids have grown up, or they're doing something which is unhealthy. That's one thing. Second is, why should women get into strength training? Isn't that mostly for men?
Yeah, so that you let's understand a little bit of weight gain during pregnancy is needed. Okay, you are going through a birthing process, but I think where it starts wrong is, you would have heard this, especially in Indian families and all of that, right? They say, "Ab do log ke liye khana hai." You have to eat for two people. You don't have to eat for two people.
Yeah.
Okay, and then pregnancy, and I say this with a lot of concern and empathy, and I'm a woman who has birthed a child, so I can say this. Pregnancy and hormones also become a kind of an excuse to indulge, and women are allowed to indulge in that phase, like everyday chocolate, meetha. On top of that, there are these we go overboard on those traditional jaggery based laddus. Okay, now all of this all of this put together, at the end of your delivery, you are about anywhere from 14 to 20 kgs overweight. Okay, now you don't have to eat for two people. You have to eat right nutrients for you as a would be mother and for the fetus, right? And that is not any different from what a regular person needs to eat,
Hmm.
right? You only need to take care that if you are deficient in, say, an iodine or iron, which is a typical deficiency that happens, or D3, you have to supplement on those. But this whole concept that, oh, now my hormones are going for a toss, and today I feel like eating a mango, today I want to eat pani puri every day, khatta khane ka man kar raha hai, I'll eat dessert every day, so that behavior also comes into play, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Now, coming to post delivery and all of that, listen, there is no pressure on somebody to kind of get fit. Okay, I don't mean to say that in 3 months, in 6 months,
Hmm.
but the truth is, you have to put in some time and investment once you have a baby, and at least after a year, at least till the baby is 1 year old, because I completely understand how much energy it takes to raise an infant, especially as a mother, right? You're nursing, you're taking care of your health. Most likely you have to get back to work after some time. There are other chores. All of that is fine. I'm saying no pressure. But if you want to look at longevity, and look at me, right? I became 88 kgs. I was unrecognizable at 29. Okay. So, but the idea is pregnancy cannot become an excuse to have deteriorating health over the long term.
Yeah.
So, whenever possible, you'll have to get back, right? You'll have to get back to the right way of eating, making the right choices. Now, this will become easier if you start it during the pregnancy itself and not go berserk in that point and then say, okay, I'll address it later. Okay, that's one. So there is a difference between eating what you want to eat and eating what you need to eat even during pregnancy. Okay. Uh, and there are various ways in which you can do it. There is no marathon of losing weight or getting fit. You can do it at your own pace. You can choose an activity that works for you. But the most important part is you'll have to be consistent with it, right? That is a non-negotiable. And when it comes to being busy, being tied up, and being extremely occupied, now that's a conscious choice you have to make, right? You have to make time for your health. So that's something that you have to do. There is no two ways about it. Coming to strength training and why I espouse that, right? Weights have always forever seen as a male dominated area in the gym, right? And I think there is this and women still come to me with this. There is this big myth that if women lift weights, they are going to bulk up.
By the way, I'm not complaining,
Okay.
because every time I go to the gym, I'm not complaining. Every time I go to the gym, I never do cardio in the gym. So all the cardio is taken by
Yeah.
women. So
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
all the machines are free. So I personally am not complaining. Yeah.
I know. I know. So I tell women, okay, so there is this myth that one, if I go and pick up a couple of weights, I'll start looking masculine.
Mm.
I have a joke for that. I tell people this is like saying that I accidentally went for a jog and I became a marathon runner. Like, what are you talking about? Okay. First and foremost, women need to realize that strength training, you will never bulk like a man because you don't have testosterone to the extent of the man. It's as simple as that. Okay. It is the combination of a strength training or a resistant training workout along with the male hormone testosterone and the protein consumption that allows men to become that size. You are not that person. You are a woman. Biologically, you are different. Okay. You're also not a female bikini model or a female bodybuilder. You're a regular person going to the gym. Go pick up the weights. Why? Uh, More than what it does for your appearance. Okay, women lose muscle mass. You have lesser muscle mass than men, and B, you start losing muscle mass at a faster rate than men. Number one. Okay. Number two, your bone density drops every 5 years or 10 years. Strength training, along with optimizing your protein consumption, will keep both of these intact. You will retain your muscle mass, and when you build your muscle mass, your metabolism is better.
Correct.
Right? And you work, and this bone density is very important because as you go into your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, you'll avoid things like joint issues, easy fractures. And I'm not making this, we see all of this in 50+ year olds. Right? If they sit, they can't stand. If they stand, they can't sit. You ask them to climb a stair, there is a joint problem. Why is all of this happening? Or they injure. I mean, a small bathroom fall will result in a hip fracture. We've seen all of this. This is lack of strength training.
Yeah.
And this is why I tell women strength train. Apart from that, now let's come to the aesthetics of strength training. When you build muscle, you actually look sculpted, you look toned, right? You feel strong. All these things happen with strength training. Okay. There is an undue importance placed on cardio. What people don't understand, that even sprinters and marathon runners to keep to not cannibalize muscle, they have a strength training regime as a part of it. Otherwise, they cannot do explosive movements,
Yeah.
right? So if you enjoy running, run. But what I see is one day you're turning 38 or 40 and you say, okay, I want to run the biggest marathon, and then post the picture on Instagram, right, for likes. And
Yeah.
then you wake up and start running.
Yeah.
That's where the problem starts to begin. You bust your hamstring, you bust your knee. I have seen a lot of issues with this.
Hmm.
That's because your basic strength training foundation is not there to take that kind of a cardio load. Okay. So the best thing I advise for women, 3 or 4 times a day, even if it is not 4 times a week, 3 days a week, go and work out your major muscle groups. Do compound exercises. Don't do those typical exercises in the gym that they make women do, which is that endurance and functional sort of exercises. Pick up weight because that strengthens your body,
Yeah.
right? Follow it up with about 20 minutes of cardio. And on the days you're not strength training, go do a brisk walk and generally be active during the day. This is enough for you to have a healthy body.
Okay. And yeah, so essentially, I mean, to maintain muscle mass, bone density, and one of the factors which is a leading cause of death among older people is fall. The top three is
Yeah, they fall. Exactly.
and you and I we spoke about PD Mangan, and he stresses this a lot for older people. PD, he speaks
Yes.
about strength training, and as you get older, you have to keep maintaining your muscles. So,
Yeah.
so, so women, men, all of us, we have to do strength training.
Everybody. Yeah. Strength training is not somebody who, there is this notion that muscle banana hai, bodybuilder banna hai, to strength train karo. No, that's not the point.
Right.
If you see slightly older people, like probably 70 upwards, you'll see that, they develop some sort of instability even while they walk,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, you have to be careful with them when they are climbing stairs or climbing downstairs, right? A little bit of a fall or a whatever takes much longer to heal.
Mhm.
All of this are mobility led issues caused due to lack of strength training.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you strength train, you will be more anchored, grounded, your posture is better. Coincidentally, PD just posted that it's his 67th birthday.
Yeah.
And oh my God, he's an inspiration. And I, even to somebody like me, 20 years from now, if I can be 50, 60, 70% of that, I'll be very happy. I think so. There are many examples. There's another lady on Twitter called Krishna Hanks. She's 61, and my God, you should look at her. So I think, you know aging is not about cosmetic surgery and all of that, but please go ahead, whoever wants to do it, please do it. I have no point of view on any of that.
I was
It's
watching.
not about the external factors.
I was watching some video of an influencer, and she keeps posting these anti-aging techniques. And actually, I mean, I know her through the circle. I mean, I knew her at one time, and now I
Yeah.
common friends. I know her, and she's a very popular influencer. And she keeps talking about yoga for the face. I mean, she's obviously done some work on her own lips, and like this art of Botox and all of that. But she's promoting yoga for the face, and that's how you look. You can look younger and all of that. I'm like complete. And I told I mentioned this to someone, like it's completely misleading, and this is misinformation, and it's not helping her.
If your internals, if you're internally not working,
Yeah,
externally nothing will work.
yeah.
You can do face yoga. You can do, I don't even know what face, I've heard of this face yoga, but I give it as much credit as beer yoga. I mean, it's absolute rubbish. It's like a spot fat reduction, which was very popular at one point. I will come to my clinic and I'll remove fat from your belly and your butt and your thigh. It doesn't work like that, right? So anti-aging needs to happen at the cellular level.
Exactly.
uh, that's when you can get a bunch of work done and people get it done, and like I said, I have no point of view on that, but that's not anti-aging.
Yeah,
Anti-aging or slowing down aging process or aging gracefully is about working on yourself internally. And that happens only with two things, or three things rather: meditation, exercise, food.
Okay.
And I'm using the word meditation a little loosely, but I basically believe that you have to do something that calms your mind. You
Mindful.
can't be in an elevated, yeah. If for you meditation is going out in nature and walking, say, along the beach for 1 hour, calming your mind, relaxing music, or if it is sitting quietly for 30 minutes and doing some sort of meditation, or it is listening to music, or it could even be completely deplugging from social media, which I think is very essential. So I think these are the only three things that really help with anti-aging. Everything else is like it's a little shallow.
Okay. So a final question now about
Yeah.
Twitter. Now, yeah, I mean, you're very active on Twitter, and it's
Yes.
an excellent resource. Like, what upsets you on Twitter, number one, and secondly, why have you also taken up this task of, calling out these individuals? And because one might argue that there's good in everything, just take the good and leave the bad. Why call out these individuals? Why can't you all work together in a holistic way? Yeah.
It's a very good question, and I'll answer that.
Yeah.
Firstly, let me point out something about Twitter.
Yeah.
Um, my account as it was created in 2009.
Yeah.
I actually never used Twitter in my life
Yeah.
because I was of this opinion that Twitter is a place where people troll and they fight, and it's too angsty and toxic. Okay, I actually got active on Twitter exactly a year ago. Okay, and like in every aspect of life, even on Twitter, what you seek is seeking you. So
Mm.
I decided to keep my focus on Twitter very clear, that I want to speak about nutrition, I want to follow the right people, I want to have an open mind about different things, I'm happy to be wrong, correct me. So that's my approach on Twitter, and so far actually Twitter has been very helpful. I have learned a lot, uh, whether it is David Ludwig or very recently Chris Palmer's work on ketogenic diets and what it is doing with mental health, Amy Berger, so many people, right? So there are a lot of good things about Twitter. I'll tell you the bad thing about Twitter is, and that is the nature of Twitter, and I think one should develop a thick skin to it. You know, nowhere in the real world will an absolute random stranger come up to your face and say, hey, you are ugly, you're a moron, everything you do is wrong.
Mm.
It is the anonymity of Twitter that sparks some kind of a dark side in human nature that you are able to do this.
Yeah.
So every time I'm upset about something like this, and when people call you names and they can troll you really bad, I remind myself this is not the real world. you know there are lots of notes to self I put on Twitter also saying Twitter is not the real world, these are not the real people. So I think that's the one constant reminder. And Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, Professor Jordan Peterson, both talk about this a lot on their podcast.
Yeah.
They say that Twitter sparks the most wild vitriolic behavior in human beings, and I think that's true, because if you were to meet somebody face to face, you would never argue like that, or you would never say things like that, right? So that's okay. So that's on Twitter. Now, coming to why I call out, okay? Um, Typically, when people are espousing uh, the calorie deficit model or the CICO model, as we call it, I'm normally quiet. I don't say anything, okay? Because I'm like, okay, they're they're doing what they know. They're espousing what they know. When I start calling out people is when this fraternity or any fraternity starts spreading misinformation about the other lifestyle, right? Which is the low carb lifestyle or which is the ketogenic lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, my point is, I have done 14 years of the calorie deficit model.
Mm.
Okay. There is a statistic I read somewhere that of all the people who go on any form of a diet, only 5% succeed.
Mm.
Okay. in the calorie deficit model has been around for 50 years.
Mm.
Okay. In that same period, obesity has been on the rise, diabetes has been on the rise, everything has been on the rise. So
Yeah.
much so that in many, many decades, human health span is on the decline.
Yes.
Okay. I call out when something has not worked for 50 years, maybe you should have an open mind to try something else.
Mm.
If you don't have an open mind to try something else, don't spread misinformation about an approach that you've never tried.
Mm. Mm.
The reason I know so much about calorie deficit and what it does is I have personally experienced that. And come on, Ashraf, you and me are mid 40s. In the last 20 years, show me how many people have been able to follow the keto diet unless you're a gym trainer.
Mm. It's true. I can't think of anyone. Yeah. I
I
can't.
can't think of anyone. I have seen people lose and gain weight, including myself. Whereas, if you go and look at the other side of the population who discovered the low carb lifestyle or ketogenic lifestyle, there are so many stories where I am an example, 8 years of no weight fluctuation. Okay. You have Shashi Iyengar, who's on Twitter, who's reversed his diet, and there are millions and millions and millions of people. So, my point is, I call out people those who diss the approach without trying the approach or knowing the science of the approach.
Yeah.
Second, I call out is when people make statements like, you can't do this on a low carb diet. You cannot lift heavy on a low carb diet. It is a fad. It's not a fad. The low carb diet has been around for 220 years.
Yeah.
It's just that we did not know about it, or we were brainwashed with another kind of a diet. It doesn't become a fad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So my whole point is not to kind of point out at individuals and point out at whatever.
Yeah.
One, like I said, don't spread misinformation. Be updated with the science. Okay. And let's have a happy conversation and an open conversation. If you can give me an approach,
Yeah.
okay, that can meet my objectives
Mm.
with eating 300 grams of carbs in a day, give it to me.
Okay.
But it's not worked because I have done that before.
Yeah. And also saw this.
So it's as simple as that.
Sorry, recently
It's as simple as that.
popular
Yeah,
popular author who a celebrity author, and she was spreading
yeah,
some information on her recipe.
yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, I showed it to showed it to people that I know, and I said, "This is precise advice that we used to get in the past on why this particular food is good for you and that particular food is good for you, and you should be eating." And I think it was retweeted by Nandita Iyer. I mean,
Saffron trails.
yeah,
Yes, yes, yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
So I mean, I didn't know about her. I came to know about her through you, and also I
Yeah.
think you have another friend, Mehak.
Yeah, Mehak Lokhandwala, correct. Yeah, she's part of the community and a very dear friend. Yeah.
So I started following all of them after I didn't know it existed in India. Just like you, I started with Jason Fung in the past,
Yeah.
and started reading, and then I came to know about seed oils and all of that. And eventually on Twitter, I was following mostly the American Mark Sisson, Mark Hyman, all those people.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Eventually, I came across you and a few others. But again,
yeah.
there was a lot of promotion of among Indian health. There's a lot of CICO promotion, and then I saw you on this space was calling them out, which is important. I personally believe calling out is a responsibility. I mean, some people take it,
Absolutely.
and it comes with the risks, and it comes with all of that. But how would anyone know the truth if it is not exposed or if it's not called out? And
Simple. See, recently I called out another person, and I, I didn't call out just like that. This lady who called herself a trainer and a coach, she put a photograph of a plate which had two slices of white bread. It had some processed cheese, one banana, jam, and said, this is a great breakfast. So I had only two questions to ask: how much sugar in this breakfast and how much protein in this breakfast? So I have questions to ask, right? And you tell me, is this a meal anybody should be eating? Like, really?
Yeah.
Bread, butter, processed cheese slice of the worst kind, jam, and a banana. That's straight 70% sugar in the meal.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. Calling out is needed because it's a responsibility. Because, uh, and for me, this is not just a passion. You know, I found health in the worst way possible and in the most painful way.
Yeah.
This is my way of giving back to society. This is my way of giving back to women, right? This is in many ways it's become a kind of purpose of life now. I wake up, I literally breathe nutrition and wellness and health. And it pains me now to see that we have 30-year-olds as diabetics,
Yeah.
35-year-olds with NAFLD. None of these guys are alcohol abusers and sugar addicts. It's just decades of wrong information.
Yeah.
And this great celebrity nutritionist and author, the misservice that is the disservice and the misservice is that's happening with millions following, saying, mangoes are okay for diabetics, eat 6 times a day, the gajar ka halwa or carrot pudding is great for you. 77 million diabetics in our country, Ashraf, and growing.
Yeah.
30 within the last 2 years during the COVID itself, Delhi alone reported an increase of 30% in child obesity.
Yeah. Also,
Don't we have a responsibility?
yeah, when you look closely on the COVID deaths, on among the comorbidities, high insulin level,
The highest.
diabetes is the highest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highest.
Not only India.
Nobody wants to speak about that.
Yeah, no one speaks about
And
it.
nobody wants to speak about that. Listen, I do not want to get into the vaccine controversy. Please take it, do your research. I believe there needs to be medical consent.
Yeah.
I'm very clear about that. If you need it, go and take it. But where is the conversation on metabolic health and nutrition around this?
Zero.
There is absolutely no conversation. It's all about immunity, and then the whole country went on this immunity booster. Now I think uh, only a toothpaste which does not have an immunity booster is left. Everything else, your tea, I mean, it's become a marketing term.
Yeah.
To peddle more products, but nobody's talking about nutrition.
Yeah. In fact, I follow this high intensity health. I forgot this guy's name on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I do too. In fact, both these guys are great. High intensity health and impact theory. If you see both these guys, Tom Bilyeu and high intensity health is a great podcast.
And he's been talking about, especially this high intensity health. He's been talking about the same, like what you spoke about. No one is having this conversation on metabolic health. And I don't know if you recently saw the CDC lady who spoke about.
Yeah, I did see that.
That, I mean, such hypocrisy, and such, like, what's happening. Like, I mean, those who want to know, can start exploring and find out what the truth is. But those who choose not to know the truth, you will not get it just by sitting and just by taking the popular narrative.
Yeah.
You will not get it. Yeah. This I'm talking about.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It is very sad that hospital food is sugar laden.
Yeah. Yeah.
So way back in July last year, my mother was living with me, and my mom is asthmatic, Ashraf, and she had a mild cold which turned into a pneumonia. She's diabetic, and we had admitted her into one of the biggest 5-star hospitals in Mumbai, Bandra. And what they served as breakfast was an abomination. Yeah, Kellogg's cereal, okay, with a pouch of sugar, a banana, a bread, and an idli. On top of being diabetic, she was given steroids for pneumonia in the hospital. And it was so painful for me to see her inject insulin and then eat that.
Mm, yeah.
I actually, and I posted this last year on Twitter, and I went to the RD, registered dietitian. I said, you will change this rubbish for my mother.
Mm,
She's a vegetarian. You will give her milk. You will give her paneer. You will give her some hummus or chana or whatever.
mm.
You will give her double the quantity of yogurt. I do not want to see idli and bread and Kellogg's on the plate.
Some,
Now,
idli
what do
and
you say?
dosa and dokla, and somehow these nutritionists, they have this on the list. Somehow, like, if you have this, um, it is a balanced diet, especially idli, dokla, and dosa. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. See, also culturally, we've eaten it this for so long that we don't want to. Like I said, it's living in denial all the time.
It's a good healthy breakfast. That's the narrative. It's a good healthy.
Yeah, correct. So it's going to take a while. But coming back to the question of why I do what I do is when I see DMs,
Yeah.
when I see some of the comments on my Twitter or other social media platforms, Instagram, etc. Um, uh, e- for the amount of people who are unaccepting of what I'm saying,
Mm,
even the small amount who are accepting and are willing to try a change, and when they come back after a month and said, hey, you know what, I feel fantastic and this is what happened,
yeah.
I feel like my job is done. I had put down that post on gestational diabetes and saying that if you get gestational diabetes, which is during your pregnancy, and if you consume sugar too much, and depending upon the extent of gestational diabetes, you are actually prepping your newborn to become metabolically unhealthy while in the fetus. And there is research around this. I had this lady who messaged me on Instagram after that post, and she said, hey, this resonated with me so strongly. I went so overboard with sugar and gestational diabetes that I literally have sugar babies, and I'm really working hard to keep that temptation out.
Okay. It's amazing.
So imagine that kind of feedback coming to you. So it's okay. It's going to be a long, tough. It's going to be a very tough cultural sort of uh, uh, revolution, I guess. But I'm happy doing what I do and helping who I help.
It's fantastic, and I've been learning so much from you, and
Thank you so much.
I've just been, like, I think a little more than 2 years now on this journey. But I'm learning from you, and also there are many misconceptions, and I also got this ability that of I mean that mindset that calling out on those ads, of like those thumbs up ads that you criticized, or mm, uh, yes.
Healthify me.
So it's not only about following a certain path. You have to, there's positive, but you have to also negate certain things which are wrong. And and when you get them together, that's when you achieve certain things. Like, you can't only be saying good things, or you can't be only be saying take the good and leave the bad from those calorie in, calorie out. No, it has to be
Yeah,
a balanced
yeah,
approach.
exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be a little aggressive because we've gone totally on the other side,
Yeah.
like the longevity without health means nothing.
Yeah.
It is a very sad life.
Yeah. Also, on that note, also, like I mentioned before, I meet people in the supermarket, and I generally go up to them and I ask them, "How old are you?" And even not only in the supermarket, even outside, and I meet older people, and certain times I think they're in the mid 50s, or just touching 60, like old couple. And then when I speak to them, I realize they're younger than me. Yeah, I'm actually older. I'm older than them, and look into their food basket and realize that they, like you said at the start, they're following doctor's order. They're going by the book. They're going by the book. You Low fat, and a lot of veggies, fruits are there. The basket is like the doctor. If he sees the basket, he'll be happy. you know. So,
Yeah,
but thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
I, I think I think we absolutely, my pleasure. And I think voices. I know in India it's a, especially when you look at Twitter, you can literally count how many people espouse this kind of a lifestyle. But I think it is very important. that we keep speaking about this, you can't be like, I'll do what I want to do and let everybody do their own thing, stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
We can't do that, yeah, because health is a massive concern. It's a massive, massive concern, and it has it has immediate repercussions, your own circle of influence and all of that.
Mm.
So so I think that's my larger point of view. And thank you so much, Ashraf. This has been a good conversation.
Thank you, thank you, and probably we should do it again on a certain, let's pick up a niche, and let's make.
Maybe subtopics, yeah, and go deeper on that, right?
Yeah, yeah. But thank
Yeah.
you've motivated me on not only on the things that you say on Twitter, but speaking to you one to one has also been very beneficial for me. A lot of people who are, I mean, who watched this video, many takeaways. We went more than what we had expected, in terms of time.
I know, I know.
But there's a lot of,
That's all right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think a topic like this needs much more time. Like it requires a kind of, because there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of new educational material, and there's a lot of unwinding to be done. So yeah, so the length of time definitely justifies that. But thank you. It was pleasure. It's a good Sunday morning. It's a good way to start a Sunday morning.
I think it's a great Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon to kind of discuss this topic. And I think I have just started doing these talks. That Twitter space was my first one, and this is my first podcast actually. So thank you for that. And I realized that it's very important to do this more and more and more because, Ashraf, people will look at whatever is happening in the Western world and they will say, oh, this is not for India. Our culture doesn't work. And it cannot happen in the Indian setting. And that's exactly what I want to break. That, you know, and that's why I think, these conversations are very important. Thank you so much. I'm going to, it's been lovely, and I'll see you around.
Thank you. Thanks, Sangeeta.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.